All right, we are here with one of my favorite people on the planet, which is Wang Yip. And I'm not gonna lie, Wang, before the entire pandemic started, what we were supposed to do was have a 8-hour marathon podcast. I wanted to dive in to your new book, Essential Habits, your sixth book, and really, because it's a 700-page book. And let me remind people, you know, it's a 700-page book. I wanted to dive deep, but then the pandemic started, and now we can't even hug. We can't even shake hands, and we're here in this empty building because this is the only place. I wanted you to come to my house, but you can't. So you know we're here in this situation.
No, that's true. Yeah. I first I want to say thank you for putting all this together. I mean, buying this building out and getting this production staff, and honestly, every single time I talk to you, Shawn, I always get, you know, I always think of you like a Seth Godin book. You're always inspiring, action-oriented. I come out of the conversations that we have together energized and just motivated to just take action and do things. So I'm excited for this talk, and I'm excited to talk about my new book, Essential Habits.
You know, I'm really excited to get into it now. But before I do that though, I want to know how you're doing, because your hair looks like it's grown out a little bit.
It has, yes. I don't have deep, but you know, buzz cut my hair. You know.
What is the thing that you're missing the most during, you know, now that everything is closed?
I think the thing that I'm missing the most is really just going to the gym, and you know, just getting the workouts in. It seems to be like my way of getting grounded and getting kind of reset into things and getting the day started. And I have workout equipment at home, but it's really not the same as having the gym, the facilities, the swimming pool, all that kind of stuff available to you. So
and badminton, I know you're a big badminton guy as well.
I'm also very big into badminton, but yeah, and so I'm missing a lot of those things, that fitness aspect, but I'm still trying to keep fit as well.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, I want to get into it. I don't want to waste too much time, because this is, honestly, no one has actually asked me to do a foreword for a book ever.
No,
and
wow.
I did the foreword to this book,
yes.
And I was super humbled and honored to do it. It took me, I think you asked me in January. It took me a couple months to actually do the foreword, because I wanted to read the whole book.
Yes.
And it's a 700-page book, so it took me a long time to get through the entire book, but I wrote it, and it meant a lot to me, and I wanted to dive into some of the concepts of the books and some of the things that really resonated with me. And I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper on some of these different topics and get your perspective on it, because I feel like what the book is, it's like a fire hose of golden nuggets. Like you've basically taken your own life, experimented on your own life and your own habits, and then also taken the best nuggets from the most brilliant, creative thought leaders around the world and put this into a book. Like you basically take the best portions of everyone's book and podcast and content and put it into a package. And so the reason why it's so beautiful is that you've summarized thousands of books into one book, which is pretty remarkable. Essential Habits. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, and the concept that really struck me, was this idea of habit stacking and pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you explain a little bit about, you know, what is that, and why it's helped you?
Yeah, so habit stacking, let's tackle that first. Habit stacking is the idea that habits kind of lend itself to other good habits. So imagine, for instance, and take that as an example of sleeping early. Sleeping early means that you're not going out late, you're not spending money at bars or clubs or casinos on food or drinks, things like that. It means you're waking up early, and it means that you're probably not spending a lot of hours on your phone or on your tablet or your computer at night, because, well, you need to sleep early. So just the very habit of sleeping early means that you're not spending money, you're waking up early, you're not spending a lot of time on blue screens and things like that. And so these habits sort of stack on top of one another. And so in my book, I have a chapter on foundational habits. These are kind of the good habits that you set your foundation for. And on top of those, then you start to build on, morning habits, nighttime habits, healthy habits, wise, wisdom, wealthy habits. So all of these other habits kind of stack on top of sort of these foundational habits that I talk about in the book. Now, habit pairing is the idea that you pair different habits together. And I learned about this book, this idea, this concept from Gretchen Rubin, who she talks about. So Gretchen Rubin talks about the Happiness Project, and in her book, she talks about doing things that she doesn't like and pairing those with things that she does like. So, for instance, a lot of people don't like, let's say, running on a treadmill. I don't like running on a treadmill. I think it's boring. I think running for 30 minutes, staring at a screen, just not my thing. But put a tablet with Netflix, Tiger King on it, and I'll run for like an hour or 2 hours, whatever. And so basically the idea of habit pairing is pairing something that you don't like, but that is good for you, with something that you do like. And when you compare those things together, you start to get the benefit of entertainment, but also the benefit of exercise at the same time. Right?
Well, I feel like I do the same thing as well. When I'm doing the chores, like I'm doing the dishes, or
you're listening to podcasts or audiobooks.
I'm listening to a podcast.
Absolutely.
And I take it to I'm so obsessed with audio.
Yes.
That I will sometimes be in the shower, which is something that you should enjoy, which is taking a shower, which is the one time where you have no one around you, you should be enjoying it. I don't do this anymore. What I used to do is take a speaker and put it in my shower so I can then listen to more content and just, put this in my brain.
Wow.
But I love this idea of pairing them together. But the thing is that the one thing that I had this question the entire time when I was reading the book.
Okay.
Was here you have all these habits, and from meditation to sleep to being creative to working out, you're creating all these habits. Where is the room for spontaneity, for randomness, for hijacking the habits? Isn't that what life is all about? Is to have that spontaneity, and how does that pair with having amazing habits?
Yeah, I think it fits right in. It's not. I mean, I'm not spending all 16 hours of my day, of my waking time, just doing exercising, listening to audiobooks, reading, things like that. All of those habits that I talk about in the book, they don't take a long time to do, but they really set the foundation and give you the energy and the freedom and the time and the discipline to do and allow things to hijack your life. Right. So, for instance, I'll exercise in the morning, and then sometimes my girlfriend will want to go out for food. And because I've already set up that foundation of exercise and healthy eating, let's say 80 to 90% of the time, the additional 10% of that time, I can go out, I can eat whatever I want. I don't have to worry about not ordering fried chicken at a restaurant because I'm on a diet. It's because I've set up myself for successful, healthy habits at the very beginning and the first thing in my day, a lot of the time, that I can then do a lot of those other things outside.
So basically you're saying is that because you've set up a good structure, great habits, is that, let's say you want to spend that extra evening, drinking wine with the buddies, and you're gonna wake up late in the morning, or you're gonna binge on fried chicken, another night. But as long as 5 of the other 6 days that you're keeping a routine and adhering to your habits, then that's not gonna impact things. Now, but let me tell you, let me take your idea around essential habits, and then throw in a pandemic.
All right.
Okay. Now, how does this impact people at home that are probably not doing the things that they normally would do? Have you thought about what your book means in a pandemic? Is it more useful or is it less useful? What thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's more useful. One of the things that I talk about in the book is about this chapter on monthly habits.
Yes.
And in the monthly habits, there's a certain concept called a natural restart. And you talk about kind of the big reset in one of your latest videos in this empty theater. So I think of the coronavirus as sort of a natural reset of how you can think about scheduling and structuring your day. Because you're working from home, I think people do have or tend to have a lot more free time because they're not commuting, they're not going to restaurants and things like that to eat out and things like that. So they have a little bit more freedom, more time, and more structure to kind of plan out how they want to kind of do things during their day. So this book, Essential Habits, basically outlines in times of natural restarts or natural start of the months, those are the best times to really start new habits or start or change new habits.
Well, listen, I do want to get into this idea of the natural restart,
Yes.
which you talk about in the book, but this idea of working from home, like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Because I want to give you my take on it, and I'm very passionate about it. But what is your take on working from home? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about work from home strategies. Is this ultimately a good thing for us?
I think it is. I think it's a good thing because it throws people out of their natural kind of routines of going to the office, commuting, and things like that. And so when you throw people out of the routines, and this is something that I'm thinking about in my next book here, but one of the ways to be creative is to throw an obstacle or to create an obstacle in your routine. So think about this. If you commute to work and you're driving a certain path, you probably drive that path and you've looked it up on Google Maps or Waze or whatever. You do that path and you do the same path every single day for years. Now imagine one of those days there's a traffic jam or construction, and so you have to take a different route. So you take a different route and you actually find out that different route is either faster, more scenic, maybe takes you to more restaurants. It just takes you to some places that you haven't been before. And you actually find that because of that construction, that traffic jam, that obstacle, you've actually found something new, right? And so when you throw yourself out of this routine of working in the office and you work from home all the time, well, you find new ways to be more efficient, to do things differently, to kind of communicate differently with colleagues because you obviously can't talk to them in person anymore. Meeting with clients, selling, doing business, all these kind of things are now different because of working from home. So,
Wang, I completely disagree with you.
That's not a surprise.
I believe that working from home
okay,
is terrible
all right,
for thinking differently, for innovation, and ultimately for the economy. Let me explain.
okay,
Working from home is, in one sense, great. It's great for efficiency.
okay,
I wake up in the morning, I get to my desk, I turn on my laptop, I'm there. It's fast, it's easy,
Right.
it's seamless. Typically what I would do if I would have a meeting, I need to go to the south side, I need to get out of downtown, I need to go to the south side, I need to drive in my car for 30 minutes so I can meet with Eric and meet him for an hour to talk about something. And probably in that meeting, I probably realized I could probably done this meeting over Zoom for 10 to 15 minutes, and now I have to wait another 45 minutes for this guy to talk about nothing, and I'm just wasting my time. Now I got to go back 30 minutes and go back to the office. What a waste of time.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Of course, that would be more efficient to do on Zoom.
right,
But here's the thing.
yeah,
Working from home is really about efficiency. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't create spontaneity. It doesn't create chaos. It doesn't create collisions. When I'm going to meet Eric for a meeting that I probably don't need, I know we can get our conversation done, or the things that we need to do, the actions in that 10 to 15 minutes. But maybe in the 45th minute where I'm talking to him, something sparks. There's an idea that we share together that will change his trajectory and my trajectory. Maybe when I get to this meeting with him, maybe we're at a coffee shop. I meet Becky. She's beside me, and she's on my LinkedIn, and we haven't connected in 5 years. And she says, "Hey, Shawn, we should get connected." And now, we're doing something together. Part of innovation is having those collisions, having that creativity come together, it's when you're going to work and you're at the urinal and you have Ben coming beside you and Ben's like, hey, and let's say he's like the accounting intern. He's like, hey, Shawn, this idea of optimizing this, and this. And you're like, oh, that's a really great idea. Let's work on it together. Like, that's somebody that you can't have a meeting with on Zoom because everything on Zoom or whatever is premeditated, it's scheduled. And the beauty of being in the office is that you're having those collisions. The reason why Steve Jobs designed his campus so that the bathrooms were at the either end of the building is because he wanted to create more collisions and more magic between each other. And we're working from home. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And by the way, working from home is terrible for the economy. When you're working from home, you're not going to the office. You're not walking in the malls. You're not looking at other people, getting inspired, buying new clothes, getting makeup, getting on an airplane, getting in a car. Like, you're not doing any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's talking about this idea of working from home and how great it is. But I actually think in the long run, it kills creativity and innovation. But you're saying that now we're thinking differently about how we communicate and all this. I think generally, but for the most part, it is terrible.
Agree to disagree, I guess, Shawn.
Okay.
Well, okay. Let me ask you something
yes.
though. So these organizations that we think of as creative innovation, creative, innovative, disruptive, are they still creative, innovative, and disruptive in this new working time, or are they less so?
What?
Because they're working from home.
Number one is we have to define, what makes them innovative or creative or disruptive, and part of the reason, and depending on any company, let's take a recent company. Let's take a company like Peloton.
Okay.
Listen, one of the reasons why they're so innovative and creative is, yes, they've created a great bike, a product, but really the creativity and the innovation is around the content. It's about the live content
right.
that they're filming in a studio, and their cyclists who are now influencers. Like, that is what's innovative about them. And to be honest with you, you can't do that at home. You can only do that at the office. The reason why it's so innovative is because people are cycling in a studio and there's other people around, the music, the lights. Like, that's what makes it innovative and creative. And unfortunately, because those things can't happen, those companies can't be as innovative and creative. And I would say that if you have a completely distributed workforce, depending on your business, it's very difficult to be creative. There are companies that do this. A company like, I believe like Zapier, I think they have a very distributed workforce, and they're one of the most innovative companies in the world, and they've been able to figure it out. But for the most part, even organizations that are making a particular widget, they still need to be creative. They still need to bring people together, and it's going to hurt them.
I don't think it will, to be honest. No, I think if companies are before before COVID-19, if they were innovative, they were disruptive, they'll still find ways to be innovative and disruptive. Now what you're talking about, so if we're talking about companies that, yeah, sure, I agree on the point that you're not going to have as many collisions because you're working from home, you have Zoom meetings and things like that. You're not interacting with colleagues. You're not going to have these chance encounters with other people. But those companies that don't really take advantage of those chance encounters anyway aren't going to be any less innovative than before, right?
Okay, I can believe that. I can believe that. The one thing that I do believe is that the organizations that were set up to be more agile, to be more creative, to be more innovative, to be cloud first, to have automation, those organizations will fare better during this pandemic because they're already set up for things. So I do agree with you with that. Now moving away from this topic of working from home, because obviously this is a clear division between us. Not that there's a division. Not that there's no division here already. One of the things that was really interesting in the book was this idea of multiplier skills. Now, I've heard this before from others.
Okay.
But you mentioned this a couple times in the book.
Yes.
And I wanted you to expand on this.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about your multiplier skills.
Okay.
And I know one of them, but I'd love for you to talk about this and why you think it's important.
Yeah. So I'd love to share anecdotes. I love to share case studies. So I'll just use my friend Shawn as an example of someone that uses multiplier skills. So when I first joined Deloitte, I obviously heard about you, saw the work that you were doing, inspired by it, and I saw that one of the things that you're really good at is doing presentations. I think that's kind of how, at least when I started, that's how you got your name to me. Is you designed a deck full of cool slides, or nice slides, I think you called it, and you shared it with everybody in the Edmonton office, and you told everyone, hey, I don't think we're doing presentations and PowerPoint, we're not doing it justice. I want everyone to up their game. I'm sharing this deck full of cool slides, nice slides. And so that was really great. I think that really helped everyone upgrade their PowerPoint presentation skills, to the next level. And then as I got to know more about your story and your background, I learned that you had worked on an app with a friend, and you were trying to, you learned a lot about customer engagement, you learned a lot about how to build app, iterating, kind of prototyping, things like that. I know that, I saw a lot of different videos, and your video game has obviously improved as it went on, but I saw the first couple of videos that you were doing, and I think probably around that time, you were one of the first few people that were really experimenting and doing a lot of things with video, whereas other people weren't ready to kind of get into that game. And all of these kind of things came together in different ways to help you become a professional speaker. And so multiplier skills.
By the way, I just feel like I just died and you just did the eulogy, and that was that was part of it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, you still got a long way to go, Shawn. So multiplier skills is a concept that I first heard about from Scott Adams. He wrote a book called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. And he talks about these multiplier skills that, and his way of putting it was every skill you learn doubles your chances of success. And he sort of did it that way, and not in a sort of scientific manner, but he said it in that way so that he could try to convince people that every skill that they add to their portfolio of skills really helps them achieve more success. And these multiplier skills, what they are is everybody has some sort of expertise. So Shawn, for instance, you're an expert in disruptive innovation and creativity and thinking about, thinking about the future things that are going to happen in the market. One of my expertises is, for instance, leveraging and analyzing knowledge and putting it into a digestible format for others to take in. So everybody has certain expertise, but they can multiply that expertise by just adding these multiplier skills. And what are these multiplier skills? So some of these multiplier skills include writing, public speaking, technology, even a little bit of basic technology literacy. Networking is another multiplier skill. And they're multiplier skills because you can take whatever knowledge you have, that expertise that you have. So for instance, if you are an expert in disruptive innovation, and then add a skill of public speaking to it, and now you're a professional speaker or a keynote speaker or a conference speaker that talks about your expertise. If you add the skill of writing, that means you can now be a blogger, you can be an author, you can be a journalist, and you can write about your expertise of disruptive innovation and expand the amount of customers and the market that sees your expertise. So by adding these multiplier skills and working on these multiplier skills, you can, in essence, multiply your expertise and basically leverage that expertise that you already have into other markets, industry sectors, or segments of customers.
So I love this concept, and is the idea to add different skill sets, or is it to bring things that you are already inherently very good at and then try to maximize and multiply those things? Like if I'm really good at video editing, and then I'm also really good at numbers, putting those two things together and making something that I'm inherently good at. By the way, I'm not good at numbers, but I'm just saying, just hypothetically.
I'm just CPA.
But yeah, that's a long story.
Okay.
Is it a matter of building those skill sets? Because maybe people can build skill sets all day long, but they're not they're actually not multiplying it.
Yeah.
Or is it just honing in on what you're already good at?
Yeah. So it's yes to both questions. So yes. It's a stronger yes to the second question of multiplying your already existing skills or your already existing expertise. It's adding skills to your skill set, but you have to add the right skills, right? So certain skills combine together in new and exciting ways. So the skill of public speaking, for instance, incredibly useful, infinitely useful for a lot of expertise. Now, if I added the skill of, let's say, my leveraging the knowledge of others and putting it into a digestible format, and then I added that skill of, let's say, music or piano. I mean, those two, they can combine, but they don't combine in the right way. They don't combine in a way that helps you to multiply your expertise to other people. And that's the whole point, I think, is you have this skill and you want to share it with others. So how can you share it more with others? Well, you add these multiplier skills of public speaking, because now you can get it out there. You can, in person, talk to others, get your expertise out there, share it, help customers with their problems. If you add the skill of writing, you can now put it into the form of a book, and now you don't even need to be there, right? You can put it up on Amazon, you can put it up on your website. Other people can access that knowledge that you have.
Now, do you think it's more valuable to have completely distinct and random skills that you pair together? So let me give you an example. If I was really good at ballet,
yes,
and I also was a good shooter,
okay,
would that make me a better basketball player in the long run too? Because I'm combining the idea of footwork,
absolutely, yes,
and shooting, as opposed to. So then, if this is the case, like let's say I want to be a great basketball player.
Yeah.
Obviously, I am tapped out because I'm 5'7", and I only have so much to go. Let's say with my kids, let's say one of them wants to be a really great basketball player.
Yep.
Would you recommend that they become amazing at ballet, that they become amazing at ping pong, and all these different random things to become a great basketball player? Like, how would you apply this concept to something that somebody wants to be really world-class at?
I mean, I think there's a couple questions in there. So one question is around, I guess, how you raise your kids to be a basketball player. And you can do that consciously by maybe thinking about sort of the skills and breaking down the skills of a basketball player into different areas. So the skills of a basketball player, I'm not an expert in basketball, you know that, but there's footwork, obviously, there's shooting, there's weight training, there's hand-eye coordination, there's teamwork. All of these different skills, you can break it down, and you can learn all of these different skills in different ways. So you can learn teamwork through soccer, let's say. You can learn hand-eye coordination by playing badminton, let's say. Right? And so you can learn a bunch of these different skills, and then if your son, let's say, wants to become a star basketball player, well, all they have to do is work on all of these skills. And if they have the passion for basketball, then they can combine those skills together and become, a really well-rounded, excellent basketball player. They don't have to, as an example, they don't have to work on or practice purely basketball to become a great basketball player. They can, and again, this is sort of going into parenting territory, but you can think of your kid and you can help your kid by helping them explore sort of the things that they're curious or passionate about, right? And so if they're interested in soccer, if they're interested in chess, if they're interested in ballet, you can help them explore some of those things, build up those skills, and all of those skills, you can sort of recycle them into a portfolio where you can then become a really good basketball player.
I don't think I know somebody who is as well read and as experimental as you, and you put together this unbelievable book of all these different habits. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, you only need to read one book, which is this. Because you read most books, and they have one concept that they've been pushing down your throat for 300 pages, and it's like, okay, I got it. But this book has thousands of what you call directives.
Yes.
And it's like thousands of books combined into one. Now, because you go over all these different topics, in your opinion, are there some habits or some chapters that you think are the most important? That you think, okay, if there's only one chapter that you need to read in this book or one paragraph, which one do you think it is? It's almost like you have all these ideas. Which one is the most important?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I think the way that I designed the book was, like you said, to have all of these list of directives from thousands of books and authors and successful entrepreneurs and business leaders. And I designed it so that you can go through the table of contents and actually just pick out the things that you like.
This is what I did.
Yeah, and so you don't even have to read the book if you didn't want to. You can just go through the table of contents and then write the foreword if you wanted to.
Well, I read the book, I wrote the foreword, and then I skipped a couple chapters.
Okay, yeah, no worries, yeah. So a lot of the chapters, you pick and choose the ones that you like, obviously. So if you feel like you need more tips or more advice around branding, around networking, around how to increase your income, things like that, well, we have specific chapters that allow you to just pick and choose the things that you want.
Yeah.
I think if I really thought about it, I think the chapter that everyone should read, if they're only going to read one chapter in this book, is the chapter on morning habits.
Yes.
And the reason that I choose morning habits is because when you set up your morning, like, I want to just contrast 2 days, and this is something that before I kind of started doing all these morning habits, this is something that I felt. I would, on Friday nights, I would get home from work, I would go onto my computer, I would play video games or watch Netflix or do something, not productive. I would stay up late into the night, and then I would go to sleep, maybe 2 or 3 a.m. I would wake up the next day, Saturday morning, and it was actually almost lunchtime. And I would be like, oh man, like half my day is already gone, right? I wake up at 11, I eat lunch, I kind of, I shower, maybe I'll work out. But by the time I do all those things, it's like 2 or 3 o'clock and like my day is basically over. And so at that point, I realized that if I started to do some of these morning habits, I would have like half a day where I could just actually get more things done. Right? And so when you set yourself up for success in the morning, you set the rest of your day up for success. So, if you wake up early, if you get your exercise done, if you eat healthy, meditate, you do all of these things, the rest of your day is just 10 times better than if you don't do these habits.
That is definitely a chapter that resonated with me.
What kind of morning habits? So Shawn, let me ask some questions for you. So,
Absolutely.
What kind of morning habits do you do now during this kind of?
Well, see,
time?
Before I read the book, I would let my kids dictate my schedule.
Okay.
And I would wake up in the morning.
Yep.
Well, actually, I wouldn't even wake up in the morning. Like my daughter would wake me up in the morning.
She's an early riser.
Yeah,
she's
and
obviously read of Essential Habits.
Now, yeah, and now my son is even earlier. So he wakes
Okay.
up at 6. My daughter wakes up at, I'd say, about 7. So they would basically control my day.
Okay.
Like they would wake me up, and then I would get them ready, get them food, and I'd just be like basically sleepwalking the entire morning, trying to get them ready for school, trying to get them up and fed and whatever else. So the entire day was dedicated to them, and this actually took a toll on me. Over time, like I saw myself over the last 2-3 years, like number one was like I wasn't taking care of myself, like physically, like I was gaining weight. I'm getting older, so my metabolism is not as good as it used to be. Definitely not getting enough sleep. Just kind of like starting the morning just not owning the morning.
Right.
And I think one of the things that was really amazing from your book was this idea of how important your morning is. And so this idea of, I know you wake up in the morning and you do 5 push-ups right away, or 5 push-ups and sit-ups right away, and get your body moving. And this is something that I used to do, which is work out in the morning. And then I kind of forgot how powerful it is. But to me, like changing my habit in the morning, like I've lost 10, 15 pounds over the last number of months just because I started to do that. Like I made that part of the routine.
Right.
I started to sleep better because I know you play, for example, bullet chess at the end. You used to play bullet chess.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know what bullet chess was until I read that. I actually literally had to look it up. What the hell is bullet chess? But just going to bed I'm still not to your point where I put the phone away.
Yeah.
Like no screen time, for an hour, and really sort of optimize the nighttime routine, de-stress before. I'm not playing chess before I go to bed. But doing these simple little hacks in the morning, working out in the morning, drinking the lemon water in the morning, things that you do, like some of the things, like just steal some of the things that you've done in the morning has drastically improved my life. And the idea of journaling. And actually, I just started journaling really after reading your book. I just started journaling all the things that resonated with me.
Wow. Because
you talked about journaling. I'm like, okay, well, I might as well just journal the book.
Yeah.
Right? So starting to journal, like going in Evernote, journaling the book, starting to journal other things. Like even when I listen, I used to just listen to podcasts or read or listen to audiobooks, and then it would just like vaporize. But now I've become better at actually writing things down and the practice of writing things down. And I know you mentioned the idea of journaling so much. So these are some of the things that has really impacted my life. And I think for the better. Like I feel good, I feel healthy, I feel energized, and obviously it's been accelerated now because now during the pandemic, I can build a routine now, a little bit more of a routine, because before, I'm traveling, I'm on the road, it's a lot more difficult. But now I can do that, and I think it's been amazing for me because now, when the pandemic is over, I don't know when it's over, maybe it'll just be a couple of years, but.
Sure.
But hopefully I've built some habits along the way that when this is all over and we get back to getting out and going to restaurants and whatnot, I can still maintain at least something that I built up during this pandemic. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely does. Like I said, this pandemic is just a great time to figure out what you really want out of your day. Right. Yes, there's work, and yes, there's different things and obligations that everybody has. But because of this obstacle, everybody has a chance to create a new structure that they want to live with. Right. So when the virus kind of and all this quarantine and all this stuff started happening, I started thinking about what do I actually want out of my day, and so. Working out, journaling, reading, writing, like all of these things, I did more of those things as a result of being at home more and having more free time.
And on that note, one of the pieces that resonated with me, and I can't remember where I heard it before, but it was really the idea of hell yes or no.
Yes.
Is that a Derek Sivers?
Derek Sivers, yes.
So we must have podcasted this before at some point.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I almost forgot about it, and it reminded me of this concept of just saying, there's so many things in life that we don't want to do, and it's like life is too short. Let's just pick the things that we really love to do, and just double down on those things, and stop wasting our time doing things that we don't want to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it does two things. So one, you're right, it helps you to double down on the things that you want to do. But saying no to things just means that you just have the time and the energy to actually do, like a lot of times we say yes to everything, and then we find out that we actually don't have time to do the things that we really want to do. And so when we figure out, okay, do I really want to do this or do I really not want to do this? And if we figure out, no, I don't actually want to do this, then we free up the time and the energy and that space to really do the things that we really want to do, right? And we can go all in.
What is it like living with you? Because you have all these essential habits. It would seem that you are a lunatic when it comes to living a structured life with amazing morning habits, amazing nighttime routines, amazing sleep and meditation and like, what is it like living with somebody who is so perfect?
I'm not perfect. I don't do everything all the time. I just try to live a life that's where I can just do the things and I have the time, the energy, and the discipline to do the things that I really want to do. And doing some of those habits, exercising, journaling, meditation, all of those things, as I said at the beginning of this video, it really helps set my day up for success.
Yeah.
And even though I don't do all of those habits, and the reason I don't do all those habits is, I allow for some spontaneity and for, different things to happen in my life. But by just doing some of those things every single day, it just really helps me do a lot more of the things that I want to do later on in the day, right? And so if I exercise, if I sleep right, like I consider it a good day if I can get 8 hours of sleep, if I can exercise, if I journal, if I read, and if I write.
Yeah.
And if I do all of those things, I consider it a good day. It doesn't really matter what else happens. It's kind of like that concept of making your bed in the morning. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of people say you should make your bed in the morning. Why? Because at the end of the day, even if you didn't get anything else done, you made your bed in the morning, and that's an accomplishment that you can be proud of, right? And so it helps you set your day up for success. And I sort of see these habits in the same way, right? If I can do all of these things, the day is successful in my mind.
That's amazing. One of the I'm not sure if the audience knows this, but we know each other from our time in management consulting. And
actually, before that, if you remember.
Yes, we spoke at the same Pachacucha event.
Yes.
And that was amazing, and to see both of us there, and it's crazy that we're here now. But we had a podcast as well called The Remix, and what we would do is we would take all these amazing podcasts, and honestly I'm going to take a little bit of credit for the book, because the book is really sort of like our podcast. We basically take amazing people and all the things all the garbage that they say, but then just take the nugget out of the garbage and then put it into the podcast and then really expand on it.
Yes.
One of the things that I want to mention today is that in our podcast, we must have mentioned Kobe Bryant about multiple, like 4 or 5 times.
Sure, yeah.
His name was dropped so many times. And, we're a couple months, Kobe died obviously a number of months ago. What was your first reaction when you heard the news that Kobe died? Just because we talked about him so much.
Yeah, I just thought he has so much more to give. So like I just thought it was just tragic that his life was kind of taken away from him at such an early age. I was so excited to see where his next kind of career path was going to go, right? So obviously he made it in basketball. He started to get into investing and companies and things like that, and then he was obviously a father and a parent and leading that kind of that side of his life as well. So I just thought, man, what he could have done so much more, and his life was just taken away. So
well, yeah. And the first thing that I thought about was you. Because we chatted.
Oh, wow.
You're not even into basketball.
No.
But we chatted about Kobe so many times, about the Mamba mentality and the fact that he would like push his grandmother to like score a basket, or all these crazy stories about Kobe.
Yeah.
So it was nuts. Now, this usually when somebody would finish a 700-page book, then they would go off and like just go to Hawaii or something and relax.
Yeah.
But you've already started the next book, the 7th book.
Yes.
In in your in your arsenal now.
Yes.
So what is this 7th book about?
Yeah, the 7th book is something that I've been thinking about as I was writing Essential Habits, and it's sort of a culmination of different factors. It's a culmination of, and I don't know if you've heard, Jeff Bezos, he built a clock in like the mountains of in Washington. Have you heard of that?
No.
So he built this clock that, I forget how it works. I think it ticks every 1 year or 10 years or something like that. Anyway, it's a clock that sort of helps people become aware of long-term thinking. And long-term thinking is this idea of what can I sort of do now that'll help me in the long term. And so investing is part of that, right? And so a lot of people, they're really scared of investing, don't know what to invest, things like that. A lot of people hear, oh, if I invested in Google or Apple or whatever 20, 50, 100 years ago, I would be a millionaire, billionaire, whatever by now, right? And so I started thinking about Jeff Bezos' clock. There's a gentleman named, I think his name is Stuart Brands. Might be getting that wrong, but there's a gentleman that runs the Long Now Foundation, and they do talks on long-term thinking. And so essentially what they talk about is not in 10 years, not in 20 years, but in like 50, 100, 150 years, even time far past our deaths. What is life going to be like? And how is that going to impact either us or humans in general? And so thinking about those things, that concept of long-term thinking was something that I started thinking about. And then as I was writing Essential Habits, I started thinking, well, all of these habits are great, but what is the actual long-term benefit of doing some of these habits? And what are the habits that, and I'm reflecting because it's 2020, I'm reflecting back 10 years ago. If I had started something, whatever it was, 10 years ago, where would I be today? And so I started to look at the things that I'd started 10 years ago, and then I started to look at where I am today. And so I decided to write a book based on that long-term thinking. What are the habits that anybody can start right now, 2020, that'll help them in 2030?
That's amazing.
And
so what are some of the things that you did in 2010 that you sort of reviewed and like that maybe you thought about that was long-term in 2010, and now that you know,
yeah, so one of those things was working on the skill of writing. Actually, I started blogging on and off, but probably about 10 years ago I started blogging. I knew that it was a skill that I wanted to develop, and so I decided to just start writing. And well, look where it's led me here.
Well, listen,
right? So
7 books
2020.
later and an active blog, you know, you that's amazing.
Yeah.
So next book's coming out. Is there anything else that you're thinking about before we close this off? Like anything that you've
yeah.
been
So I have
toiling
one
on?
thing that I'm working on. It's not like fully formed in my mind, but what I want to do is I want to form this membership site where I'm going to post my book notes. And yeah, I'm going to charge members to access those book notes, and I'm going to give it to them in text, in audio, video, and it'll
I
just
love this
be,
idea.
Yeah, it'll just be like a shortcut to like reading books.
It's like the remix again, just
a little bit like the
forgetting.
remix, but it's with books. Yeah, so yeah, it's just something that I've been thinking about. It's something I want to work on. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but I'm going to work on it and see where it takes me.
So where can people get Essential Habits?
Essential Habits is available on Amazon right now. And if they search for, I think there's a couple books named Essential Habits, but if they search for Essential Habits and then my name, Wang Yip, they'll find that book.
And where can people find you?
They can find me on my website, wangyip.ca. And yeah.
Well, listen.
I want to ask a question before we end. Can I ask some questions?
What's that? Sure. Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Shawn, what are you working on? I want to hear.
Well, right now
things that you're
I'm working on the the one thing that people are, by the way, that I didn't mention in terms of working from home. Everybody, there's so many people that think it's great that if they're in their 20s or in their early 30s, they think it's fantastic. But working from home with 2 kids is almost impossible. And being able to work on things that are substantial with the kids. So I'm just trying to. There's a number of companies that we're advising, that we're working on. We got a couple companies that we're going to be launching soon, which I'll share later as well.
Okay.
But mostly just advisory work, and these companies. Obviously, still doing virtual keynotes. That's something that is like a new world. Like I haven't done that many virtual keynotes, but I'm doing more of that.
And you're dressing up for these keynotes and everything too, and doing makeup and everything.
We're actually shooting them in a theater.
Okay, yeah.
And I want to elevate. I don't want to sound like Kanye, but I really want to take the virtual keynotes to the next level. Like I want people to be like, that is the greatest virtual keynote that I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And that's why we want to shoot them in theater. That's why we want to have multi-camera. We want to make it immersive. We want to include graphics. We want to make it really pop. Most people are doing their virtual keynotes at their home in their sweats. And I really believe that to be radical, to be inspiring, you need to make people feel it's very different than live. Virtual is very different. So anyways, working on that. And for me, like this pandemic is unbelievable. And I don't want to discount the people I don't want to make light of the tragedy and the difficulty that people are having. Businesses are going away, people are dying, like there's lots of mostly bad things that are happening. For myself, I'm really taking this time to reevaluate the things that I'm working on and to work on cool and different things and creative things. And I really love that I have the opportunity to do this. Now, the magic is actually doing this with the kids, because at the end of the day, my wife is at home, my kids are at home.
Yeah.
This is also a special time to spend more time with them, and getting outside. And yesterday was crazy. I was walking the kids outside, and I ran into a friend, and he was driving by.
Oh wow.
And I hadn't seen like friends in weeks, and I looked at him and I was like, he was in his car and I was with the kids, and I didn't want the car. We were talking through the window, and I was like, don't let this stop. Like, just keep talking to me. This is amazing. As an extrovert, that was amazing. So, just doing that. And I just want to say, you are one of the most inspiring people that I know. Always get a ton out of our conversations. It's motivating to see, where you've gone, with your public speaking, with your writing, with all the things that you do. Honored and humbled to do the foreword to the book, and looking forward to the next one and much more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thanks.